this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to all. And tonight, we welcome our new trustee, Brooke Carlos.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Excited to be here,
Good
working
luck.
with everybody.
Before we get into the
Yes, go
agenda, let the record reflect that Mrs. Campbell has an excused absence due to an unfortunate passing of a family member.
So we do have a certain amount of beginning of the year business that is mandatory based on protocol. So we'll go through that portion first. And at this point in time, I would like to make a motion, be it hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to nominate and elect Scott Haas, President of the Plain Township Board of Trustees.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yeah.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
All right.
How about you just send me the gavel over here and you can stay comfortable. And then the next meeting I'll go
All right.
there.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So we had roll call on that. The next is new business. For election of officers, number 2, and make a motion be hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to nominate and elect John Sabo, Vice President, Plain Township Board of Trustees.
I'll make the motion.
You'll give me a second. I just made a motion.
Oh, sorry, make a
We're
second.
good.
Sorry, first meeting.
It's okay.
No, that's okay.
Trust me, I'll sit over here and I'll be pausing.
I'll go there.
Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Okay. That takes us to the beginning of the year resolutions. The first item that we have is Robert's Rules of Order. So be hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to abide by parliamentary law and to conduct meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Moving on, next beginning of year resolution, Board of Trustees, meeting be hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, that the time and place of Board of Trustee meetings shall be the second and fourth Tuesday of each month in 2020 at 6 p.m. in Township Hall. Be it further resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to hold a work session on the second and fourth Tuesday of each month at 5:20 p.m. in Township Hall.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Beginning of year resolution number 5, retaining employees. Be hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, that all full-time and part-time employees are retained until the first meeting in 2021.
Yeah, that should say 20.
Except as the board may act as provided by law. Unfortunately, 2020, sorry guys.
Edited, that should say 21.
That's a good
Motion,
We appreciate that.
Second.
discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Next beginning of year resolution number 6, work rules and policies. Be hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to continue in effect all work rules and policies in effect on December 31st, 2019, unless otherwise amended, altered, or deleted during the year, during 2020 and up to and including the first Plain Township Board of Trustees meeting of 2021.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Beginning of year resolution number 7, holidays observed. Make a motion
I'll
to
second.
adopt. Brooke second. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Beginning of year resolution number 8 for mutual aid. Be hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, that the Plain Township Fire Department will extend mutual aid to any other fire department, EMS service, or IMAT The fire chief shall authorize orders for the deployment of this aid.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Next one, beginning year resolution number 9, coordination of fire and law enforcement agencies. Also move.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes, I see a correction now with the name here. It says a law instead of Haas.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's my alter ego here. Law is law enforcement, so thank you for the catch. Let's see.
Oh, and Mrs. Harless. It says Mr. Harless.
Yeah, you know what? This is getting off to an interesting start here. Okay, beginning of year resolution number 10, the volunteer firefighters board, be hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to appoint Scott Hawes as chairman and board member, and John Sabo and Brooke Carlos as board members for the Plain Township on the volunteer firefighter dependent fund board.
Second.
Discussion, just as a point of clarification, have they covered this with you? It's something where we've never had to meet, and hopefully we never will have to, but it's formality. So, got a motion, second, any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Beginning of year resolution number 11, be it hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to designate Lisa Campbell as the official designee for the Board of Trustees for public records training.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Beginning of year resolution number 12, be it hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to appoint blank as representative to the Stark Council of Governments and to appoint blank as the alternate representative. I've been doing that the last number of years. I can continue, we meet four times a year.
I'm good with
I
that.
bring those back to the meeting.
Yes.
And then typically the alternate, I think, it's been, I did board.
It's either or. You
Yeah.
can pick either of us. It's fine. I don't mind doing it. If you want to do it because you're part
Give
of
Brooke
the board
more
first.
exposure.
Well, seeing as how I've never had to go, I don't mind doing it again.
Okay, so the motion will be to appoint Scott Hawes as a representative to SCOG and appoint John Sabo as alternate.
Oh.
Or do we want, I mean, do you?
No,
you
no,
guys
no,
care?
go ahead. You can,
Yeah,
I'll do
that's-
next year. I'll second it.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Okay, beginning year resolution number 13, request advance taxes. I will so move.
I'll second it.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Beginning of year resolution number 14, Stark hazardous response. I will so move.
Second.
Discussion. John, do you care just a quick chime really what this is for the sake of the
Yeah, this
public
just
we
deals
got
with
here?
the collaboration of all of the departments, or for the most part, all of the departments in Stark County that to create a regional hazardous materials response team. There is no single fire department that either could afford the employees or the resources to be able to do it. So it's collaboration. Basically all it is for us to be able to both respond and deploy resources for them.
Thank you. Roll call?
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Moving on, beginning year resolution number 15, to waive zoning fees for governmental agencies and political subdivisions. Also move.
Second.
Discussion, just, we've done this because essentially instead of transferring taxpayer dollars for other taxpayer services, it just makes sense. Roll call?
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Beginning of year resolution number 16, I will so move on gov deals, unwanted assets.
Second.
Just clarification, this is our medium for being able to get rid of assets that meets our satisfaction for so much outreach. No further discussion, roll call,
Mr. Hawes?
yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Beginning year resolution number 17, Computech agreement, this is for computer support. I will so move.
I'll second.
Discussion, roll call,
Mr. Hawes?
yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Beginning of year resolution number 18, agreement with Planet Technologies for a one-year agreement for Office 365 and authorized payment not to exceed $5,442.72 from the following funds.
Second.
Discussion, roll call,
Mr. Hawes?
yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Beginning of year resolution number 19, be hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to authorize the fiscal officer to transfer funds as needed between meetings for expenses and include the transfers in a resolution at the following meeting.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call,
Mr. Hawes?
yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Beginning of year resolution number 20, sale of scrap metal, I will so move.
I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call,
Mr. Hawes?
yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Beginning of year resolution number 21 is be hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to designate Lisa Campbell as the prevailing wage coordinator for Plain Township.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call,
Mr. Hawes?
yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Beginning of year resolution number 22, be hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to continue all insurance benefits to all elected officials and full-time employees until the first meeting in 2021 unless such plans are amended, altered, changed, or switched by the Plain Township Board of Trustees or as otherwise provided by law.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call,
Mr. Hawes?
yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Okay, the next is beginning year resolution number 23, Tax Incentive Review Council. Before I bring it to motion,
All right, I'll second for sake of discussion.
The Tax Incentive Review Council meets once a year. We essentially have a couple parcels, i.e. businesses, that have tax abatements awarded to them. Essentially, the individual who's appointed to represent Plain goes down, sits in front of the entire commission, along with the entity. I've done it. I can either continue to do it, or in which case we'll make sure we have an alternate that can make it. Probably
I-
in a half hour.
I'm good with you still doing it, and then if Brooke wants to
I am the
go there, that's, yeah.
Because it's a two-sheet, we bring it back.
Mhm.
Everybody's been, I think the only time we've ever had to do anything with it is when we had to list all businesses still in Plain Township.
Mhm.
It was changing ownership and getting the folks paperwork, otherwise it's formality.
Yeah.
Okay, so that being said, I'm gonna read, whereas Plain Township currently is a participant in the enterprise zone with other jurisdiction, and whereas the Ohio Revised Code requires a tax incentive review council to organize and review existing tax incentive agreements and recommend changes to the Ohio Department of Development. Whereas two members are required to be appointed from each township within the zone, now therefore be hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, that Scott Hawes, Brooke,
Yeah,
okay, and Brooke Harless be appointed to represent Plain Township on the Tax Incentive Review Council, and be it further resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to appoint Lisa Campbell as an alternate member to the Tax Incentive Review Council.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
That concludes our beginning of year resolutions. Takes us to the sheriff's report. Lieutenant Carver.
Good evening. We have the December 2019 monthly report before you. Saw some reductions in most of our stuff for the month of December. Fortunately, we didn't see the typical spike in stuff that we see over the holiday season. And I think the weather also helped us on the crash side of things. The calls for service, 1,460, 8% reduction from 2018. 60 crashes, down 25% from 18. 6 injury crashes, it's a 60% reduction. 98 alarms, 154 traffic stops, 114 citations, 49 arrests, 307 vacation checks. Detectives report 25 cases. Cases closed, 1 felonious assault with an arrest, 1 aggravated burglary with 3 arrests, 1 rape with an arrest, 1 theft of a motor vehicle, and 1 death investigation was closed. Following pages, you have the look back, comparing previous years, just as kind of a benchmark note. I believe by this time last year, we were at full staffing, we were at comparable staffing to where we're at now. You kind of see that big jump between 17 and 18, we started seeing those numbers really start to change for us. Just kind of getting an early look back at 2018 as a whole versus this year, looking at the traffic numbers are going to be a good bit higher than we had last year, and really making that push to get some more traffic enforcement. Any questions from anybody?
Is there anybody in the audience that has any questions for the sheriff? Thank you. That concludes the sheriff's report. That'll take us to unfinished business. And turn that over to Mr. Iacino.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, as you know, we've been discussing these digital speed limit signs for the last couple of months. And in coordination with the Sheriff's Office and Lieutenant Carver, we were able to get some traffic stops and citations on the roads that we're looking to maybe put these on, and crashes and speeding. And then we were able to get Scats to do a traffic study on a couple roads that we didn't have the studies done, and that is the list of how many cars per day on those streets. So then we moved forward, and it was tough trying to find a vendor under state pricing, but we did find one, and the price came back pretty high. The MH Corbin one is state pricing. And the other price we got was much lower for 2
I think, let's see here. This is just for discussion. We don't have any resolution here. I know one of the things that, at least when I was taking a look through, say some of the initial, like crash data and so forth, there was reference to numbers over off of Martindale. That's county road.
Right.
So we would, if anybody's gonna put something in that stretch, that would be the county.
Yeah.
We would want to pursue county engineer. We're not gonna tie up township resources on a county
Maintain road.
part of the road. Furthermore, like, take a look at, I think there was the intersection of Firestone and Middle Branch. Intersection of Middle Branch and Firestone. I mean, that's essentially a dead end. I mean, granted, that's tough because that's where the hill crash rolls over the railroad tracks and then dumps you right down. I don't see where a speed limit is going to
Make a difference.
difference. That's just my thoughts. Is there any input and thoughts from the sheriff? I don't want to talk about this in a vacuum. I'm just, some of the dynamics here, trying to.
Yeah, I don't really have a position one way or another on these signs, whether they're really effective or not. There's not really a good tool for us to say are they effective or not. It's another tool that the residents see out there, whether it has any long-term effect. I can't speak to that. I'm just trying to look at the hard numbers to kind of help you guys. I think, as you said before, it's going to open a can of worms.
Could they be weather related, because maybe the snow, maybe they drifted into the intersection, or into Easton or into Middle Branch,
I think the
That's
crash.
the only thing I could think of with
The crash is probably on this end at Middle Branch. You're coming up over a blind spot. There's a blind spot when you're coming up over the tracks. And I think people drift into the other lane, one way or the other, whatever way they're going, I think, I mean,
Yeah, both those intersections, like Firestone East and Firestone and Middle Branch, they're just bad intersections, they're accident prone,
And I don't
as
think.
we well know from our guy that, we just had a horrible accident at Firestone and East, and they're rough intersections.
Well, and I think that was the interesting thing about the numbers that you guys pulled together, and definitely appreciate, when you start talking about that long stretch between Middle Branch all the way over to Easton on Firestone, that number once you take out those two intersections and the accidents, those numbers dramatically scale down to the point where, no offense, but I can't see justification of putting one on Firestone if we're to consider anything.
with
I
that
think it's-
traffic count.
Yeah, with traffic counts, and especially when you look at the peak times, I think if we're to take under further consideration advisement, Schneider between Middle Branch and Market, and then, what was it? Westmoreland was one from both traffic stops, citations, and crashes. Those were the two, at least from an initial review. Any additional thoughts? I know in my conversations, at least with North Canton, cutting through, what is that dumps down by Akron Children's into,
Glenwood?
yeah, Glenwood. I think in some instances, that becomes more of a challenge to see, as you're coasting down the hill, how quick you can get that thing to go. I'm just watching people. So I think it can be an initial deterrent, but I think it's like anything where creatures of habit. I want somebody, hey, the folks that are honest, it's gonna keep them honest, but the folks who wanna say, God, how quick can I get going from this end to the other end? It's still gonna be the same people that probably keep the sheriff busy that they already do. That's just,
We get that same when we put our speed trailer out, people are trying to see how fast they can get it going. I mean, it's just, because you'll see those spikes, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
in the speed, so.
but if we were to evaluate this further, outside of these numbers, I mean, what other elements, if any, do we take into consideration? I mean, I will say the cost is a little bit.
My concern is, we need to set some criteria for where we're gonna put these. Because if we start putting them in allotments,
It's
you
the
guys
same
will be
argument as speed
inundated
bumps.
with requests. I mean,
Yeah.
I get those calls a lot, and nobody drives 25, we know that. But if we start putting them in allotments, we're gonna have to, what are we gonna use as our criteria? Yeah, we could do yours,
I
but we're not
agree
gonna
with
do
that.
yours.
That would tend to become cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
It would, it's overkill.
Is that something where we can have researched, is Rob Graham over in North Canton, know what the parameters are that they use for determining where they put those? Is there
I
anybody
don't
that
think
may
they
have
have
any?
one, I think whenever somebody, because they've got them,
They've got
on
'em just
Apple
in-
Grove, and then they got them on
Main
Glenwood,
thoroughfares.
25
Yeah.
mile per hour roads and stuff, so.
I mean, granted, they're high traffic, where Rob's, but I think that's the only common denominator I see amongst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
None of them are in residential
Well,
neighborhoods.
they do have the one that goes down by their civic center, that's pretty residential there, they have, what is that?
Well, yeah, but
West
still,
Maple now?
Because you got Pikes Park.
Yeah, but it's still a thoroughfare. I mean, that's,
Still
that,
high traffic.
Yeah, West
Oh.
Maple.
I'll bet the traffic numbers on that road are as high
City
as,
Hall on Market Avenue now,
Yeah.
on their end of, from 30th to 55th. So,
How about we do this just for the sake of discussion, see within like the next,
yes.
for a timetable within the next month, see if there's some criteria that
yeah, I'll
may
get
be able to
those
be
back.
recommended,
I think we need
and
to
then
continue.
determine
Yeah.
how we would apply that to at least some of this, and we've got the metrics and counts, so that's a great starting point.
The difference between what was offered by the state bid company versus the non-state bid, is that an apples for apples?
Yeah, it seems to be everything that I looked at, because
It's like, what, like
told them exactly
$1,700
we
difference?
both
That's a big
needed,
difference.
and it was tough finding somebody on state bid for that.
Yeah,
And another company gave me their name, that
Mhm.
actually had it.
yeah.
but it was, they had, what I sent them exactly the same, so.
Sure. All right. Yeah, that's a significant difference. Thanks, Joe.
Okay, that concludes unfinished business. It's gonna take us to new business, and I'm gonna turn that over to Mr. Steinberg.
Thank you. New business number one is simply a resolution of the Board of Trustees to pay the 2019 Stark County Regional Planning Commission dues. I believe that's supposed to say 2020. And authorize payment in the amount not to exceed $3,000 from 01A 26E.
Also move.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Harless,
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes. That'll conclude new business. Takes us to the fiscal officer's report. I'll turn it over to Mr. Wolf.
Thank you. Fiscal Officer number one is a request for resolution to authorize the payment of pending warrants in an amount of $183,055.09.
I'll move on. Fiscal officer number one.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number two is a request for resolution to authorize payment of regular payroll in an amount not to exceed $250,000.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number three is a request for resolution to authorize payment for the following medical claims.
I will so move on fiscal officer number three.
I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number four is the financial report for December. And I'll be available after the meeting if anyone has any questions on that. Fiscal Officer number 5A is a request for resolution to authorize the following transfers.
I will so move.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 5B is a request for resolution to authorize the following transfers.
So moved.
I will second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 6 is a request for resolution to authorize a refund as follows for overpayment for EMS as requested by Ohio Billing.
I'll move on. Fiscal officer number 6.
I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 7 is a request for resolution to enter into the attached agreement with Finley to complete the actuarial valuation pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 9.833 and to authorize payment from Fund 01A 28E not to exceed the amount of $2,500.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 8 is a request for resolution to approve sick pay bonus as stated in the negotiated contract for members of the Plain Township Firefighters Association as follows.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 9 is a request for resolution to approve 6 additional metered streetlights to be located on Butler Street Northeast between the following lots, and to authorize the Plain Township Fiscal Officer to certify this cost as a special assessment to the property owners, to the Stark County Auditor, and to inform AEP to transfer the streetlight electric service accounts to Plain Township trustees.
So moved.
I'll second for discussion. That's the new part, right?
Yeah.
So that's that extension of the new part.
And once, I think as I've indicated on the record before, after that phase is done, they're gonna proceed to the phase that sits back up behind the clubhouse, to the clubhouse. And then from there, they will proceed, next phase after that, to go back over onto Butler, that last stretch, essentially down to where the barn and some single-family homes and duplexes are, so I don't think the timetable's fully articulated, but that is the order of operations. So we'll continue to see moving forward some additional lighting going on there. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 10 is a request for resolution to authorize a true-up payment with the State of Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation of $2,664.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Tom, just point of clarification on that. I mean, how did they come with these after, these last couple of years? Hey, we're giving refunds back because we're doing so good, and then we still end up with a true up. Any insight? Is it one of those things where they overestimate?
Yeah, the way it
Refund
works
back, or?
for workers' comp, they changed it to prospective billing. So at the beginning of the year, you have to estimate what your total payroll for the year is going to be. Then at the end, you have to do a reconciliation. And if the payroll's higher, then you may owe a little. If it's less, you'll hit some back. But this is separate from the refunds they give from the
Okay,
surplus they have.
perfect. Thanks for that clarification. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
And that concludes the fiscal officer report.
That's going to take us to administrator. I believe Mr. Steinberg's covering that as well for us.
Thank you. The first one is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to approve the renewal and authorize payment to Leads Online for the Leads Online Power Plus service package in an amount not to exceed $2,364 for Plain Township's half of the invoice, number 253812 from Fund 09A07.
I will so move.
Second. I'm sorry.
Brooks, second. Discussion. Just for clarification purposes, this is a shared venture with the sheriff's office. It's worked out really well in helping resolve.
Yes, it's a great tool that the detectives use as well as the patrol guys that track property. It also has a component where the public can store some of their information in there in the event that something would happen to their property. It helps us to identify things.
No further discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Item number 2 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize payment to Earth and Wood for hauling of yard waste in an amount not to exceed $7,440 to be paid from Fund 01A26Y.
I will so move. Second. Discussion. This is for cleaning out the rest of the stuff from the end of 19.
It's all cleaned up.
Okay, perfect. So that being said, just let I know it's a little bit of an offshoot here, but we're past January 1, so the yard waste drop-off service is now Plain Township only residents. Exclusively, and in order to utilize that service, you need to complete the online application, pay the $25, and it will be opening May 1st, which falls right in line with every winter shutdown that we've had. So hopefully this will help us control those costs like we've had the multiple discussions before, but I just think it's important to note this is the closeout, which again, we went over our allotted amount that the Joint Solid Waste District provided last year. Moving forward this year to the exclusive Plain Township, we believe this will help us better control those costs.
Correct.
Okay. Roll call?
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
And the final item is item number 3, is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize the trustees, fiscal officer, administrator, department heads, and IT safety director to attend the 2020 BWC Safety Congress in Columbus, Ohio, from March 11th through 13th, 2020, and authorize payment for lodging and reimbursement for food, mileage, and parking for those attending, according to our travel policy to be paid from Fund 01A03.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
That concludes the administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Steinberg. It's going to take us to Fire Department. Chief Schallenberger.
Thank you. Item number 1 is our monthly report for December.
If anybody's got any questions for Chuck afterwards,
Thank you. Item number 2 is our annual report for 2019. Response time's about the same as in past. Call volume, we're within about 20 of last year. Didn't change too much, just up a little bit. And big accomplishes, got a couple grants, some AEP stuff, and some lighting and that, and a couple new vehicles.
So, Chuck, on your second slide, after the cover page, moving into the new year, working on creating a new 5-year strategic plan.
Yeah, ours expires this year, it goes to 2019, so we'll be making our next 5-year plan for new purchases, expansion, et cetera, you know, all the other stuff, we'll be working on that this year.
And those elements, just to clarify for the public, will tie in to with what we've got in our comprehensive mini master plan that we're working through refreshing right now with Stark County.
Yeah, actually, the timing went good. We tried to make it end about the same, so hopefully, you know, we can look at what, you know, all the departments are doing along with what we can expand with too, to go forward.
Okay. I think it's clear that the strategic plans work on delivering upon what we've committed to, because the outstanding support we continue to get with our safety service, all of our levies, you know, whether it's road or it's sheriff or it's fire EMS, delivering the whole way around, so planning and execution clearly pays off. Okay.
Thank you. And item number 3 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize payments to Tech for online employee scheduling and workforce management system to be taken from Fund 28A09 and Fund 10A15.
I will so move. Second. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 4 is a resolution by Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize reimbursement to Scott Young not to exceed $400 for healthcare membership according to provision 37 of the collective bargaining agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 5 is a resolution to authorize purchase and payment for gasoline, oil, and diesel fuel from McIntosh Oil, not to exceed $20,000 to be taken from Fund 10A09E.
So moved.
Second, Mr. Sabo. Yes. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Okay. Item number 6 is a resolution to accept the resignation of Anthony Aquino as a part-time firefighter paramedic effective January 15, 2020.
I will so move. Second. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
And that concludes fire department. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. That will take us to road. Mr. Iacino?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, item number 1 is the monthly report for December. You can see our snow removal was very low for let's hope it stays that way.
You say 50-some, we thought almost not quite 70-degree weather this past
And it was nice.
weekend. I mean, at this time of year, I mean, how much salt have we probably saved as compared to?
We're probably
That's
60% less than normal at this time.
Just up to this point.
But the only problem with that is that could come
Yeah.
back in the end.
Yeah.
We might have to pay rental if we don't have room for what we ordered. So
Yeah, because we've got to take X percent, is it 80?
well, the whole county does have, you know, on our consortium.
Yeah.
It has to take so much, and if we don't reach that, we all have to pay our share of $15 per ton per month.
Okay. So not that we're praying for snow.
Yeah.
Strike that happy balance, so we're not.
20% snow.
Create some kind of time maker.
Okay.
2019 annual report that will be delivered to the Stark County Engineer's office.
We actually had a real good year in how quick we got out on all the paving
Yes.
and
And
so forth.
do believe this year's gonna be even sooner. We're pretty much got it to where we think we're gonna bring it to you guys.
Perfect. Yeah, that would, if we could do it under that same process, boy, that just worked out so
Yeah.
good, because we kind of got their attention early on, and they jumped right on it.
We got a better price there.
Yeah.
So. Okay. And item number 3 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to authorize the purchase of gasoline, oil, and diesel for McIntosh Oil at a cost not to exceed $15,000 from Fund 3A5A Fuel Oil.
I'll move on Road 3.
I'll second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Thank you.
That'll take us to the zoning department, Mr. Farrar.
Thank you, sir. Item number 1 is the monthly report.
We were just talking about all this, and now you bring this picture up.
That was all this stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Just hoping,
Yeah.
just hoping, that's all.
I know that.
You can go visit it somewhere else.
Here.
Okay.
Let's see. Significant. Yeah,
Right along.
Yes.
Kind of.
It's gonna be interesting to see how fast the old golf course ends up building out, now that they've got that spec model
Yeah.
in there, so.
Well, they've got that entire street paved out and the
Yeah.
lots ready to go.
Yeah.
They're looking really diligent, you know that?
And then they've opened the second phase up there, oh God, opposite side of the street from where Airfield is. What is it? The Pinecrest Meadow.
Yeah, the second and last
Got that
phase.
second.
They just opened that.
Yeah.
So. Okay.
Second item on the agenda is the annual report.
Anybody have any questions?
Talking about the new homes, the developments, we had 84 new homes this year.
Only behind
Second
Jack's.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Came out to 17% of all
All
Stark
new
County.
construction for residential.
Good.
It's impressive. Crazy part is there's not much left, there's not much area left at all to build your plane. So,
Yeah. Well, we've got 5 developments, 5 or 6 developments going together right now. And Edgewood is just beginning, so we still got some time.
I do think what's important really to look at, and again, I think it's important for the residents and the public to know that when you take the look at the total number of complaints versus what we end up only abating, it speaks volumes to the work and effort to work with the homeowners or the business owners, so we're not incurring cost and sitting on that for 6 months, 12 months, maybe even longer. So, 423 complaints, we only had to abate 54, so a little over 12.5%. I can tell you from the 10 years I've been on here, last couple of years, that's been low, because I know there used to be some nights at the end of the meeting when we had to sign off on these things, you had writer's cramp from the amount of them. So again, just kudos to the staff and treating those situations the way you do in order to get amicable resolution.
Vincent and Megan have been doing a marvelous job.
Item number 3 is a resolution to declare items A through C as nuisance abatements.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
And item number 4 is a resolution for the township trustees to accept the attached zoning fees to be enforced by the Plain Township Zoning Department effective February 1st, 2020.
I will so move on zoning number 4, fee change.
Second.
Discussion. Tom, you and I had chatted, and I know you've done with the other two, but just for the record, how long has it been since we have revisited our fees, and what all have we changed since? And I think it's important to reinforce.
The current zoning permit fees have been in place since 1994. The Bureau of Labor Statistics Consumer Price Index indicates that since that time, since 94 to 2019, we are 73.55% higher. What I'm trying to say is that $100 spent in 1994 would be $172 today. We have not raised our fees at all over that time period. And so we are actually falling behind.
But yet our cost of doing business has, and that's even taking into account cost savings initiatives that have streamlined operations like the iWork software.
Yes.
And so forth, to really even the amount of time, proper time that goes into plan review and so forth. So this was benchmarked against Jackson, some other areas.
Yes.
So you essentially took a look at the 1,308 townships in the state of Ohio, and there's really only, what was it, 21 that were of comparable size, structure, and so forth,
Yes.
compared to
Plain
Plain.
Township.
And essentially, our fee structure, even as compared to Jackson, were just about a few bucks higher on a couple things, but that was in a looking forward. I do think, and this is something I told Tom, I think ultimately as a board, at some point, we need to take a look at, instead of allowing so much time to pass, we may need or want to consider some type of resolution that ties fee structure to, say, like similar not a cost of living adjustment, but, and it's some type of inflationary
Like a rolling scale
index.
similar to
That
what?
way, we're not coming back every
Correct.
year or every so many years going, oh, by the way, hey, yeah, because if you say, oh, well, it's just a couple bucks, but then somebody goes, well, as a percentage though, it's bigger than that,
Similar.
we look more consistent,
Yeah.
responsible in keeping the top, that's just my opinion,
Sure.
but.
Similar how the health department did it.
Yeah, exactly.
They presented it out, said we're not gonna start this until, I think it was year 2, and said, here's gonna be the progression structure.
It allows
Yeah?
businesses, when I say businesses, to plant it as well, the residents, but predominantly, some of the businesses that come in and have to deal with some of the permitting, whether it's a developer doing all the residential, build out and so forth, any permits they have to, they can plan by knowing, okay, hey, we've already been pretty easy to work with, because we've got that feedback from a number of folks. But on the financial piece, we're just continuing to be more transparent, more consistent, and not trying to make it up in one foul swoop. So I don't know if there's guidance that, Eric, maybe look at.
Just how to get that rolling fee schedule established?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just from like an inflationary
Sure.
index.
Sure.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? Roll call, please.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes,
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
And that's all for zoning.
thank you, Tom. That takes us to our Parks Department. Turn it over to Mr. Steinberg.
Thank you. Item number 1 is a monthly report. I'm here for questions if you have them. Okay, item number 2 is the 2019 Parks Annual Report. And finally, number 3 is just an update. In the fall, we have applied for a capital budget grant through Senator Schuring. We also applied just recently for a grant through Scott Olslager and Reggie Solskus. I got a call last night while I was at home to update us on the progress of those applications. The first thing we found out, having never done it before, is they are actually 2 applications for the same fund line item. So the grant application is as stands. We received favorable conversation back. People are looking very positively onto the grant that we submitted for the Diamond Park restroom. They're looking at making decisions end of this month, possibly next month, but they don't see the capital budget being passed right away. Is that they'll break in February prior to the primary and come back later in the spring, hopefully with some good news for us. And assuming that we are awarded that grant, money will roll in July 1-ish for that. So just a status report.
2021.
I believe July 1. I have to double check, I don't remember.
I believe there's a lag based on.
Is there a lag?
Yes. How it's,
Okay.
how it's approved, when it's approved versus, there's like almost a year lag, but that'll allow us time for the planning, because what we had submitted
Right.
has to do with a flush.
Flush facility, a permanent flush facility
Over
Got it.
time, and,
by the ball field.
yeah.
Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Steinberg. Nothing from our law director. It takes us to communications. And the first one is a thank you to Lieutenant Carver and the Plain Township patrol officers. Oh, goodness. Sorry, I'm just trying, the script is a little bit difficult for me to,
Do you want me to read it?
if you can, yeah. it's-
Lieutenant Carper said that they, this family sent them pizza and beverages to the patrol guys, along with this note saying, to the police department, we much appreciate the service rendered to do a daily walk around of our home's perimeter while we were out of the country on holiday from December 3rd through the 13th, 2019. Kathy and Joe Sammartino.
The second one is thank you to the fire department. And it says, to the Plain Township paramedics and fire department, thank you for saving my life. You did a great job at what you do. Thank you. Around 5 a.m., November 19th, 2019, you saved my life, and my family appreciates that very much. Keep up the great work. One guy was Russell, and I can't remember the other guy's name, but still, thank you again. John Cheney and family. Great work, guys.
And the other paramedic was Wymer, was his last, one of our newer
Yeah.
guys.
Is that Ross?
Yeah.
Ross. Well, keep up the great work, guys. Okay, that brings us to the portion of the meeting, public speaks. If anybody wishes to address the Board of Trustees, we ask that you state your name and address for the record. Anybody? Okay.
Good evening. I'm Glenn Minner, 3315 Scenic View.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
My question is this. I know in the last 5-year plan, I live in Laurel Ridge. Laurel Ridge was prioritized as a top priority for sanitary sewer review. I wondered what the status of that is as far as the next 5-year plan. There are a lot of, I've lived in there 17 years, and there are a lot of, I see a lot of septic systems being worked on and replaced by more expensive systems. Is there a plan to bring sanitary sewer into that in the next 5 years?
Well, the short answer is we've actually got
I'm
different.
hard of hearing. So
Sorry, the short answer is there have been inquiries, we've provided direction. In order to do that, previously folks have tried, you have, within the allotment, you have to circulate a petition indicating the want for the sewer connection. It requires, Joe or Eric, help me if I'm wrong here, but it requires at least 51% of the allotment to sign on just to get it onto the ballot. Once it's on the ballot, then it becomes a voted issue. Nobody wants to circulate a new petition. The prior petition that was circulated, it ended up, I don't even think they got the 51% for the signatures.
That had to be a while ago.
So, in short, that's nothing that we can do strictly as a board. It has to be a grassroots from the residents circulating a petition amongst the pre-identified area. And what I want to explain as far as pre-identified area is can work with the Stark County Sanitary Department to say, hey, here's within Laurel Ridge, because Lord knows it goes from Pine Tree over to Bentler to the backside of essentially Bottler. Are we talking all that, or are we talking a piece of it? So essentially, what the sanitary engineer would need to have identified is it that entire footprint? Is it a portion of it? And then once that designated area is identified, the public has to circulate a petition collecting signatures from at least 51% of the homeowners. Once those signatures are collected, then the Board of Elections would certify that they're legitimate. Is it both the Board of Elections and the township?
I don't think it goes.
I don't think it goes on the ballot. I think that's simply directly between them and the sanitary.
They ran sanitary through our park up to Pine Tree and Alpine.
Because it goes over to Saratoga, over to Saratoga Hills, and some folks had attempted to make, because while I was still off of North.
That had to be 15 years ago.
Yeah.
At least by now.
Well, I was still off of Northview when it got stuck through over to Saratoga Hills, because we had even inquired, because I had an older split level. The septic still worked the whole 9 yards, but a bunch of these systems that you're talking about are these aeration systems that I was gonna say 10's a look. I don't think I've seen anything 10. Unfortunately, the area is not designated as a highly distressed area. Like, and for an example, like down in Canton Township in Waco, I forget what it's 24th, 25th, 26th Street in Amford. Because of the high volume of failure, like,
Yeah.
when I say high volume, I'm talking almost 80% deemed failure. They were able to work through the county to get some federal and state funding to pull it in. Unfortunately, this area over here is not even remotely close to that, and that's actually something when we sit through the annual Stark County Health Department meetings, they talk through that. Every year, the county health department will appropriate so many dollars for the residents of Stark County to say, hey, if you've got a failing septic system and you reach out to the health department, they'll come out. I mean, this is a dual-edged sword, and that if you believe you've got a failing system and you call the health department out and it's still getting by, but they go, this really does need transitioned over, but sorry, hey, we can't get you this funding. Then you
Why would that be a project on the 5-year plan then if it has to be driven by the residents? Why would that show up on the?
Well, I don't know what specifically within the 5-year plan, because to say we would extend sanitary water into any specific allotment, I know we don't have it spelled out to that level of detail. It may talk about,
There was even a cost associated, so, $80-some $100 per resident, and then an $1,800 hookup charge.
that level of
Somebody did
detail
some
would not be in our
extensive.
comprehensive mini master plan.
Who does the 5-year plan? The township 5-year?
Well, we don't have we've got a 10-year mini master comprehensive plan that goes through Stark County Regional Planning that we have we've had a number of public feedback sessions, and I can tell you right now with the plan that's being worked through, that level of detail, it does not get that granular.
I'm wondering
Maybe
if
the
we have
county
some
engineer or the
county
sanitary
engineer.
engineer may have sent something out, or the county health department.
I'd say that's where that came from. That wasn't created by us.
I see. So, to summarize, there's no plan to do anything about the sanitary sewers in Laurel Ridge. Is that-
At this point, outside of, it would be connecting homeowners with the Stark County Health Department to say, hey, there's this funding source available, and if they determine you qualify to help, whether it's covering the cost, or it's like a low-interest loan or something, that's really the extent to which that's available. Again, the prior example was, somebody tried circulating a petition back there, could not get the signatures, because for some of the folks back in there, they either find with my system's still working, or or it comes down to, I can't afford to have those charges assessed on my taxes, because they're already too tight on their, say, mortgage payment. So it's really a dual-edged sword, so it really does fall back to a private individual use case.
Does anyone have any idea how many systems have failed and been replaced or worked on?
The
The
Stark County
health department would have all that information.
I see.
That's the agency responsible for septics within the county.
I wonder, I heard, and do the speakers work, do the mics work in there?
Yeah, actually, we've got them even from the,
You could fool me, 'cause I can virtually hear nothing that you fellows say. Anyway, someone mentioned Apple Grove. Every time I travel down Apple Grove, I'm astounded by the number of speed limit changes there are in that street. Does anybody else
why?
notice that?
Well, we can tell you partially why, yeah. As soon as you hit Markport West, well, it's Starcliff, from Starcliff West. That's within the city of North Canton.
Well, the speed limit is less going west than it is coming east on that stretch of road.
And
It's 45 coming
Yeah.
west, and it's 40
and the reason,
the other way around.
the reason being, Joe, you correct me if I'm wrong, but the county, one, has responsibility for that. There's state variables that determine, the housing density, number of driveways, road width, banking. So honestly, as it gets more rural, so closer towards Middle Branch, to where it would ultimately cross over to Warner Church, there's not the population density there.
Yeah, but the speed limit goes the other way. It's 45 before you get to Market going east, and once you get over there, then it switches to 40.
Yeah. So from Market to Middle Branch, we're saying it's 45. I just want to make sure I'm
There's a
hearing.
stretch of it
Market
that's
to
40.
Mill Branch is 40 mile an hour, it's a 2-lane road.
Yeah.
Just drive it.
Market to,
Well,
I live right off of Apple Grove, and it does go up.
from Market to Starcliff is 45
Right,
mile
it
an
goes up
hour.
and down.
Because but that has to do with the road widening, right?
And then once you hit Starcliff, it turns into North Canton. North Canton set their speed limits being there a city any way they want. The county and the township have to go through ODOT, the state, and set speed limits on any road.
Which actually, in the last 2 or 3 years, I thought they did, well, maybe it's been longer than that. After they did that whole widening project through there, they had reevaluated the speed because of the concern of the volume and the fact that
it strikes me as being a speed trick to keep playing around with the speed limit.
Honestly, the sheriff has nothing to, thing is the sheriff has absolutely nothing to do with it. The sheriff only enforces the speed limit that the county engineer has had identified through working with the Ohio Department of Transportation.
Is the board aware that Edgewood Communities furnishes Silver Sneakers service?
I can't say I haven't.
They're in the township, right?
Yes.
But it's private.
Apparently, we contracted with an out-of-township entity to supply Silver Sneakers service to our residents.
We haven't contracted, for the record. We have not
Just
contracted.
saying,
We've
when
partnered
I do
with-
business, I look for businesses that are in my community. And Edgewood Community is in Plain Township. I know they furnish the service because I use them.
And it's a wonderful service.
We've
It's a
actually,
wonderful service.
we've actually tried to use it, we've used them up here at Township
We
Hall
still
for
do.
some of
They'll be
the,
here tomorrow.
so.
Yeah. Yeah, Silver Sneakers is partnered through the Y. The Y provides the instructor at zero cost, and the class at zero cost to township residents.
I realize that,
Yeah.
and I thank you for that.
Yeah,
I'm just asking that if we consider the township company to furnish that service. That's,
the partnership came out of opportunity to provide seniors with more programming, because as you know very well from our conversations, we don't have the resources in a lot of cases to develop programming outside of what is a money maker to help sustain the parks that we talked about.
maybe they'll furnish the same service, or whatever.
They may, but I would expand it, I wouldn't eliminate what we already have for free.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So the next time we consider that, I just suggest.
I'm always happy to consider further programming partnership for free, absolutely. No,
Of course, as you're aware, I'm
I
always
guess I'm a
championing programs for senior citizens.
understand?
Oh, yeah, I guess I'm a little confused. We don't pay for anything now for Silver Sneakers that we do here. Why would we reach out and contract with somebody who may charge us for that service?
They may do it for the same contract that you have now. That's all.
We-
I'm-
But we don't,
It's a
but all we,
collaborative
I appreciate what you're saying. All we have to do if they do that is put it in our newsletter that you also have the opportunity to go there. We're not paying for anything extra.
And we're not charging.
I guess we just didn't know that was being provided, so if that can be accomplished by simply putting it in our newsletter, that we hold that here and they hold that there. What I wouldn't wanna do before we do that is to find out if we put that in our newsletter and the citizens that are getting it here for free would be charged up there in some way.
I can do
Because,
that.
so, you understand what I'm saying? Because I wouldn't want somebody to think that it's a like-for-like service,
Correct.
that they're getting free here but gonna pay for it up there. I appreciate you pointing that out to us, because obviously, I'm the senior person on this board, so, any of those kind of programs that we can get promoted, we certainly wanna do that.
So we're going to promote Edgewood Community, is that what you're thinking?
No, I'm saying
That's
we're
that's a
gonna,
private enterprise.
we're gonna check into what might be available there.
I don't pay anything up there because it's through my Medicare provider.
Mhm.
And that's the
Sure.
case with most
Sure.
Medicare providers today.
We actually tried to do, this probably goes back almost 6 years ago. And there have still been regular touch points since then of doing a collaborative partnership, but then the Canton charge moved in, so facility space dwindled. But then essentially, they weren't wanting us
We couldn't work
to,
out a fee structure that was beneficial for both parties.
Yeah.
so,
I thank you for your.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Is there anybody else in the audience? Do we have anything for a scouting project we need to talk about here tonight?
Are you doing a merit badge, or
Yes.
good for you?
Yeah, I'm doing a merit badge. This is one of the requirements for citizenship in the community is to attend a city council meeting or a board of trustees meeting.
So have you learned something, or have we bored you really bad to where you want to go home and do something else? Maybe we've inspired you to be a
Yeah.
future leader, hopefully.
Do you have anything we need to sign? Or is there anything that you need from us?
No, I just need to attend this meeting and take some notes.
Perfect, well, good luck.
So how many years have you been at Scouts?
This is my first year.
Okay.
What troop?
Troop 35,
Where's Troop 35?
that is North Canton,
St. Paul's.
St. Paul's.
Okay. Okay. Is that tied in with you, Tom? Okay,
Yeah, we're in the pack,
okay.
Yeah.
Cub Scouts.
Nice, good.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming out.
Yes.
Thanks for coming out tonight. Glad to have you. I actually did Scouts until I hit it's Star, then what? Yeah,
Life.
Star.
Star, Life, Eagle.
Yeah, because the fumes, as they said, got to me. The perfume, the gas fumes, and I never finished out Life or Eagle. So I would tell you, stay focused. There's a lot of good things you'll learn in life that will truly apply even once you get to our age. So keep it up. Thanks for coming out. Anybody else in the audience? Okay, that'll conclude public speaks, concerns of trustees. Anything from my fellow trustees at all? Okay, concerns of the fiscal officer?
No concerns.
That'll take us to approval of the minutes from December 17th, 2019, and I will so move.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes. There is no need for executive session, so I'll make a motion to adjourn from our regular meeting at 7:12 PM.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harms?
Yes.